Well, congratulations on getting through the exam. If you've not gotten through the exam yet, you're viewing these videos as a pre-exam diversion, enjoy, and then get back to studying. Otherwise, if you're post-exam, give your hand a rest, sit back and enjoy because you're really going to appreciate BSG. You're going to learn a lot and have a lot of fun while doing it. Big picture, in BSG, you and everybody else in your class are going to take over the operations of an athletic shoe manufacturing company, such as Nike, Adidas, Reebok. Now you've got Under Armour playing in that space, although they sell a lot of other products as well. Um, you're You've got plants worldwide, you've got sales worldwide. It's a big company, and in the simulation, you take it over after 10 years of existence. So you're not entrepreneurial per se, you're not starting it, you're taking over an existing company. From a course perspective, this is a big part of your grade. You have almost, or a little over actually, 25% of your grade that will come from the simulation. We're going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of your time individually, but I think that it will have huge payoffs. Let me tell you why I particularly like the simulation. It's a live case. Unlike all the other cases you've done thus far in your educational career, you've not had a stake in them. In this, you do have a stake. What happens in this case is because of your decisions. So in a sense, you own it, and it's very dynamic. And then I want to tell you, this is going to be a lot of fun. Even though there is this, it's the stress of all competition. Somebody's going to finish first and somebody's going to finish in last. You're going to have a good time doing this, and you're going to learn a lot in the process. And it's precisely because you're going to learn a lot that I use the simulation. I can't imagine teaching a strategy class without a simulation. So what are you going to learn? For one thing, you're going to take what you've been learning in this class and throughout your MBA, and you're going to apply it. Now, I'll be honest, the depth of your application is going to be limited by the simulation. For example, you may have a love for marketing. You're not going to be able to go in and say, well, I can produce advertisements better than anybody else that's going to make them more effective. You're going to have a set number of things that you can do in the marketing arena. But within the constraints of that, and they are pretty broad constraints, or pretty broad boundaries, I guess is a more positive way to say it, you're going to have a lot of flexibility to do what you want to do. The other reason I think this is so strong is you're going to make real decisions. It's going to be very hands-on. So you're going to get into implementing the details. Hopefully no one will fall into the trap of making stupid mistakes that cause them to tube their company when that wasn't what they intended to do. Sadly, you'll see that that really does happen in the real world and not just in BSG. The most rich learning part of the game, though, is that this is going to give you a chance to be able to through 7 rounds or so, be able to see your performance and then try to change your performance. Now, I've probably, in my discussions with you, already used what I call the simple West Texas School of Management. How are we doing, why are we doing, and how are we going to do better? And this is going to really guide you in what you do. The how we doing part is relatively easy to figure out. It's the why we doing and then making the decisions and implementing the decisions for how are we going to do better that are going to be very challenging. So I want you to know that this is a huge part of the learning, is this struggle, quote unquote, that you're going to go through the simulation where you're trying new things. You are making judgments as to what's working and not working. That's where the learning is going to take place. And again, I think you're really going to enjoy it. So let me briefly introduce you to the business. As I said, you're profitable. You have sales in all 4 regions of the world, which for gameplay they divide up into North America, Latin America, Asia Pacific, and Europe, Africa. And you sell 3 lines of shoes, and I'll talk about them more later. 2 of them are branded, and one's a private label, kind of a Walmart brand. One of the things that you'll probably hear me come back to several times in these videos is that The simulation is live play. What the competitors in your class choose to do directly impact your results. If I had two industries that were playing side by side, I could have, you could have a team doing the same thing in each industry and be getting very different results because of what was happening differently in their industry. So you should know that it is live play, and what you're doing makes a huge difference. There is no secret sweet spot in the simulation where if you just find that sweet spot, everything is going to work out perfectly. That's just simply not the way it works. One other thing, I tweak some of the internal settings of the simulation before we ever start. I don't change them while the simulation's ongoing. That will change the sensitivity of some of the things. Because of that, if you were to talk to somebody who was running this simulation in another industry somewhere else, that alone is going to give you a little bit different perspective, because I've dialed a few things up slightly and I've dialed a few things down slightly. I tell you all this because what I want you to do is focus on your industry. Don't go to the internet. Don't go to your friends for advice. Don't even go for the people who played the simulation in the past, because as I make subtle changes, it is going to affect the picture that you see. This is where you're starting your company. You are profitable. Last year you sold a little over 5 million shoes. You had a capacity of 6 million at regular time, not to mention the 20% overage you can get at overtime. So you had some spare capacity in your plants, over $200 million in revenue, and on that, you made $25 million, so your profit margins were a little bit greater than 10%. You've got a solid credit rating of a B+, and you got an SQ rating of 5.0, and the SQ scale goes from 1 to 10, so you're in the midpoint. Let me talk to you briefly about this SQ rating. It's as if there was this global consumer reports that everybody respected. And when they say you've got an SQ rating of 5 and somebody else has an SQ rating of 6, the world accepts that that 6-star shoe is a better shoe than your 5-star shoe. So you can fight that all you want, but the reality is when you get a star rating as to the quality of your shoe, or when you pick a star rating and produce the shoe at that star rating, all the world accepts that's the quality of your shoe. And that's one of the few unrealistic aspects of the simulation, is that everybody agrees on the quality. You do have two factories, North America and Asia Pacific. The Asia Pacific plant is double the size, 4 million shoe capacity as opposed to the North American factory, but they're both going to be pivotal in your strategies going forward. And as I hinted on a previous slide, you have 3 major distribution channels. You have branded, that's sold by retailers. So in other words, you produce the shoes, you put them into a distribution network, and the various retailers of the world sell them. You have online sales where they go to Nike.com and you buy the shoes directly from the manufacturer, and I don't honestly know that Nike does that. And thirdly, you have a private label. Private label is where you manufacture shoes for like a discount chain, like a Target or a Walmart, and you put some non-brand name on it. So it's not associated with your brand at all, but is a way for you to use excess capacity. You're going to find that the private label market is the most volatile market, because one thing determines which bids these retailers accept: price. And because of that, you can imagine that's a very volatile competition. Some markets, or sometimes I've seen the private label market get competed down where nobody's making any money, and it's frankly not a factor in the competition because nobody's making any money. And other times I've seen the competition evolve such that companies were able to make substantial money in the private label for any number of reasons, and it's a huge factor in the competition. So it's impossible to forecast in advance. I'm going to come up for air, take a breath, join me on the next video to continue learning more about the simulation.